Just over a month ago, we lost a true hero, an inspiration to the reptile community, Dingo Dinkelman. And before his family even put him to rest, this guy made some rage bait for clicks to talk negatively about my friend. Todd Grande is a PhD. He's a YouTuber and a mental health professional. His PhD is in counselor education and supervision. He's an author and has the unique ability to speak with about as much enthusiasm as a turnip. Imagine Stephen Wright without the comedic timing. That's Todd Grande.
There's a fine line between fishing and just standing on the shore like an idiot.
Now, obviously, I'm biased here. Dingo is my friend. I miss him dearly, and I don't respect anybody who's going to go after him and speak negatively about him before he's even in the ground. Literally, the video came out before, the timing was terrible, and the message is terrible. So I'll admit I have watched some of Todd Grande's videos in the past before. Generally, they're investigations about murderers and things like that, and generally pretty well thought out, although this video really wasn't. The video starts off pretty innocent, and I'll preface this, I was sent this video by over a dozen people saying, hey, who the heck is this guy and where does he get off? So I started watching the video and I'm like, okay, he's talking about his accomplishments, where he comes from, how old he is. All this seems pretty great. Even the tortoise is making noise over there. He's upset. Then he goes on and just goes deep all the way, talking about how Dingo is reckless and makes a dangerous hobby even more dangerous than it needs to be. So here's a guy who might not have seen sunlight at all in this calendar year, making judgment on somebody who is the life of this hobby, someone with a giant personality, and a true expert who is doing the absolute best that he could to educate us about animals. It always baffles me when somebody who has zero experience in something, like no exposure whatsoever, passes such harsh judgment on something they know absolutely nothing about. Now, from the outside looking in, if you didn't know and you said, well, that's kind of crazy what he does, I get it. Before I was really into snakes, I would think probably the same thing. Like, holy cow, this guy is playing with snakes, what's going on? And then I would do a little bit of investigation, which, by the way, is what Todd Grande makes a career doing, and realize very quickly, he's a conservationalist. Basically what he's doing is what Steve Irwin was doing, and just kind of in the age of YouTube in comparison to the age of Discovery Channel. But either way, if I didn't know and I wasn't in the hobby, I certainly wouldn't be calling this guy reckless or irresponsible. And yet, here we go. We have this guy who looks like he calls snakes icky and requires his wife to remove spiders from his house, calling a professional who's done this his entire life irresponsible. Now, obviously, we try to stay positive in situations like this because negativity stinks, but you know what doesn't? Me. Thanks to today's sponsor, Scentbird. Fragrances boost confidence. It's what they're all about, making you smell good, making people who are in your presence think, that guy doesn't smell like feet. The problem with most fragrances, you have to buy a full bottle and then figure out if you like it or not, and that gets really expensive. Scentbird fixes that. This month, Scentbird sent me Versace Eros Flame, and I've got to say, this is my favorite one. I've been subscribed to Scentbird for 2 years now, and they never miss. But my favorite are the simplistic ones. Eros Flame is Italian lemon, pepperwood, and nothing too fruity that I don't like. I like citrus, I like strong masculine scents, and Scentbird really delivered this month. And when you sign up for Scentbird, every month you get a new fragrance, and you can stop at any time if you decide that you want to skip a month. Plus, it won't break the bank. Scentbird is $16.95 a month, but if you use the QR code here or the link below, your first month of Scentbird is only $8. I love the packaging, super simple, lock, unlock. Packaging open so that you can see what you got inside, magnet back together. And then all that's left to do, smell great. Plus, the range is crazy. Popular brands like Prada, Versace, as well as niche labels such as Perfume de Marly and Roja. And each fragrance comes in a 30-day supply, allowing you to fully experience the scent. And right now, if you scan my code or use code WWR55OFF, you get 55% off your first month at Scentbird. Oh, and this is available in Canada as well as the US. That makes your first month only $8. Thanks, Scentbird, for sponsoring. Let's get back to the video. So then Todd goes into some of the titles of Dingo's videos. Obviously, he picks the most salacious ones, or the ones that he assumes his audience would think are the most salacious. Some of them death at dingoes, and then one about swimming with an anaconda, which, first of all, Todd, why is it so salacious to swim with your pet? It's a pet. It's an anaconda. What's the big deal? Anyway, the point is, Todd, you know exactly why he does titles this way, why he titles his videos in a specific way. It's the same reason that you title your videos the way that you do. For example, this one that you posted last week about a fake boxer and a scam. Now, obviously, it's a speculation. You use the most catchy title possible. You're basically making a claim, which I haven't watched the video yet, and I actually will, because I think it'd be an interesting topic. And I'm sure you walk back and say, in my opinion, I think, when your title is absolutist. The same thing is what Dingo did. You knew exactly why he did it. Again, you're trying to corral your audience to think a certain way. All of us use slightly misleading headlines, or at least headlines that might look misleading or might have a very strong stance on something and then slightly walk it back to explain what we mean. Dingo did this, you do this. The difference is between you and Dingo, besides him having a personality, is the fact that Dingo did it to bring people in and then spew positivity, rather than what you do, which is bringing people in to then call a man who is very professional and an actual expert irresponsible and say a whole bunch of negative things about him for his family who is still grieving to see. I know that most of your videos are about serial killers and murderers and all this stuff, and if you want to talk bad about them, okay, they did something wrong to a human. This is a guy who died by accident doing what he loved and making a difference in the world. I think you got caught up in what you normally do and didn't realize, hey, there's a such thing as poor taste. And then Todd just absolutely unleashes the silly goosery. Dingo positions himself in front of a snake. I'll read the exact quote so I don't get it wrong. Dingo positions himself in front of a snake and tries to avoid getting bit. Sometimes positions himself on the ground to give the snake a fighting chance to bite him. Bro, what? Are you aware of how a camera works? Okay, if you have a snake on the ground, you can't be standing up and be in the same shot at it. That's not how this works. You film videos, you understand at least how a camera works and what lens you'd have to do. Like, it's not a vertical video, okay? So you can't have the snake on the ground and you talking and still, that wouldn't work anyway. We're talking about horizontal videos, just like the ones that you film, and you realize that if there was a snake any lower, like let's just use me for an example, lower than my chest, you wouldn't be able to see it. Of course, you have to get on the same level as the snake to film it and talk about it and be in the same frame as it. My wife and I are teaching my 5-year-old about photography, so if you need any more lessons, let me know and I'll get him on the phone with you. And then he goes, and he says, the videos are frightening for the audience to watch. Bro, for who? Who's frightened to watch these things? His videos are frightening to watch for the same people who watched The Exorcist and then looked over their shoulder as they were walking back to their car. Like, come on. His videos were exciting to watch and inspiring. And if you look at his comment section, you'll see that. And then he went into the projection. And this is the part where I think is just getting on the verge of crazy rage bait, although there's more ragey bait later. Dingo talked about how if a mamba or cobra bit him, it would certainly kill him without antivenom. Dingo may have believed that antivenom would definitely save his life. A false sense of security. Bruh, no. This is ridiculous. Obviously, he knew that any snake who bit him, any venomous snake, might kill him, just like anybody who handles venomous snakes on camera like this knows. In fact, all of his videos preach exactly this, and you go on in your own video to say the exact same thing. But then your whole theory, you're just trying to guide your viewers into believing a certain thing that you want them to believe. He must have thought for sure his life would be saved, or I'm paraphrasing here, whatever it is that you just said that I read. Of course he didn't think that. You know this because you researched the guy. You know his full first name, which most people don't even know. You knew where he was born. You did enough research to know what his career was before this, but you didn't watch enough videos which is basically every one, for him to explain that he knows he'd be in trouble even with antivenom. Of course you knew that you're just full of it. And then he just really gets into the rage bait. He's talking about how Dingo has a disclaimer on his videos at the beginning, not to do what he does, in the same way that every extreme sport does, or like the Jackass movies or whatever. This is a very standard thing and very responsible of Dingo to do. But then he weaves it, Dingo should have sought more training because clearly he didn't know what he was doing. At this point, it's clearly just rage bait, and anybody with 2 brain cells in their head that they can rub together realizes that Dingo was an expert. It's not like he needed to seek more training. Would you say that about a race car driver who crashes his car? That's part of like what racing is. Oh, he crashed his car, therefore he should have sought more training and he ought not know what he's doing, or whatever the ridiculousness that you said was. It just doesn't make any sense. It's silly. You know it's silly. And the next thing he said is even sillier. In the video, Todd says, Dingo was put on this earth, or Dingo says he was put on this earth to teach us about snakes and preserve wildlife. And anyone who talked to Dingo for more than 5 minutes or really knew him would be able to tell you that's exactly what he cared about. But then he tries to add a little bit of humor here, saying that being killed by a snake isn't the best way to accomplish this. Right? I see what you're doing, okay? Dingo was put on this earth to, teach people that snakes aren't scary, and he died trying to do that, which isn't the best way to accomplish this. And you were put on this earth to wear a red nose and join the circus, but instead you just clown dead people before they're even in the ground. So life doesn't always work out exactly the way it was, but you can at least try your best, like what you're doing right now. Okay. I know I need to dial it back and be a little bit more professional here, but at the end of the day, the dude, what are we doing here? And then he makes a comparison between Steve Irwin and Dingo and how both of them kind of got what they were asking for, basically, and then makes a comment about how Steve was putting his son in danger or whatever. This is you're going after dudes who are dead who can't refute you. For sure, 10 years ago, you were the guy in the Call of Duty lobby who was screaming profanity at 13-year-olds who'd never find you. That's the energy that you're giving off in this video. And realistically, it's just an opinion piece, and that's fine, and I'm allowed to rebut it. And realistically, if we ever met, at a YouTuber thing or whatever, maybe we'd get along and whatever. At the end of the day, I just don't, it's my friend that he's, making terrible comments about, and also I realize that his family will probably see this. This video was sent to me over a dozen times. Imagine how many times his family got it. And it's completely disingenuous. I want to get into that in about 30 seconds. Because then he goes in and says that his opinion, his theory, his thoughts are that Dingo was doing this for self-promotion rather than for conservation as the primary reason. This is just so silly and wrong. How many things did Dingo do, including removing venomous snakes from people's dwellings without a camera ever being on him? If that was the case, wouldn't he never do any of that without a camera being on him? Why would he be doing good just for the goodness or for his business, rather than promoting himself every chance that he got? He called him impulsive and irresponsible and all these buzzwords that he knows that his audience is gonna latch onto because they're pretty big words, pretty derogatory things to call someone who just died doing what they love doing. He says that Dingo's aggravating the animals. Again, this is a guy who doesn't have any background in working with animals at all. He has no idea what he's talking about, even in the slightest. And then he talks about how he was irresponsible and it's possible that his family is going to go through a downward spiral because of what he did. So you're putting the demise of his family, potential demise of his family, into this as what, come on, dude. And then he says that Dingo's life is a metaphor for observing the dangerous without understanding it. What exactly didn't he understand? He explained in the video everything that you said, including the fact that he knew that he had an allergy to venom from snakes. He knew that even without antivenom, that it probably wouldn't go well. Even with antivenom, it probably wouldn't go well. Even if he didn't have the allergy with antivenom and he got bit in the hospital, he knew, what didn't he know exactly? Now, here's the thing. This is a guy whose entire career is based off the analysis that people think holds water because of his PhD. But everything he said about Dingo was wrong. Every single thing about he did it because of this and he did it because of that. Anyone who knows him knows that isn't true, which makes me question all of his other videos. Is this guy just a quack? Just some guy who's kind of a hack piecing things together but puts a PhD behind his name so it gives him credibility? Probably not. I've watched some of his other videos and truly I do think that he does a good job analyzing most of those things. I think that he got caught up here. I think this is the main thing. And I did sort of the same thing in this video that he did. I used certain words and I knew would evoke certain emotions. But at the end of the day, what he did was wrong. I don't appreciate this video. I think he could have went about it a completely different way. And it was unnecessary to paint Dingo the way that he did as irresponsible and reckless, which, maybe he's reckless in the fact that he's fearless and he did things that I personally wouldn't do. But to say that he threw caution to the wind and did things just willy-nilly as he has, a tong and a hook and bite gloves, that's obviously really silly. But Todd is in the business of making money and getting views. And what he did is he used these words to keep people watching. Retention is really important. You can get a lot of clicks on YouTube, but if nobody watches the video for more than a few minutes, then people click off and the video does poorly and no one watches your next video. That's how YouTube works. Todd isn't stupid. He knows this. So he had to craft a story to be the most interesting, even if it was detrimental to the legacy of another man in order to do so. That's what Todd did. And about that legacy, he said that Dingo leaves a challenging legacy because he did things recklessly and poked and prodded animals or whatever other garbage that he said that wasn't true. And no, it's not challenging. His legacy isn't challenging for anybody who isn't trying to make a YouTube video and retain views. It's a pretty clear-cut one. He saved a bunch of animals and put a bunch of eyes on conservation. There's people who have followed in his footsteps and have saved. It's a compounding thing. Think of it like a pyramid, not a pyramid scheme. I know you're gonna try to twist this if you watch this video, but Dingo's at the top, right? And there's other people below him. And those people are then interested in conservation. Dingo inspired one person who inspired 20 people, inspired 100. So what Dingo did was leave a lasting effect. His legacy is cemented. He was a good guy. He did the right thing. And sure, he did something that was dangerous. Of course, it was dangerous. But to call it reckless? No. And to call him irresponsible? Definitely not. So here's the deal. I get it. Todd has no skin in the game. He doesn't care. It's not his friend. He's not part of this community at all. I understand why he did what he did, but if you watch the video, just understand Todd isn't doing this as an objective thinker, as someone who took all the facts and this is what I really think. I don't think he thinks what he said. There's no way he thinks that. Todd used the exact narrative that he needed to use to paint a guy the way that needs to be painted in order for people to keep watching the video and watch more of his videos. That is what Todd did, and that's what this video is about. So in short, Todd, bad video, man. I don't like it at all. I'm gonna go watch your one about the Jake Paul thing, because that's probably gonna be pretty interesting. And it looks like you're pretty based in terms of like your other videos and how you title them. But this one was pretty bad. And yeah, don't have to go after Todd, of course, although I did leave a pretty strong comment. Instead, leave a comment on this video and let me know what you think. Hit the like and subscribe button if you don't mind. And as always, the Patreon supporters, you guys get videos early, discounts on merch, all that and more for as little as $1 a month. That's it. I do videos twice a week, so that means I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to check out Scentbird, scan this QR code here, or use this link and get yourself 55% off your first month of Scentbird. That's only $8 for your first month.